So good morning, everyone. Thanks very much for joining us today for this NAM workshop on securing host laboratories for your research. Just a quick introduction about the Nigerian Applied Microbiologists Network. We are a network of researchers with interest in microbiology being applied in different sectors, in food, in health, and in as many as different areas of research that you could think of. We have members based in Nigeria and the diaspora, and we started this network in 2017 just as an opportunity for networking and empowering researchers in the country who are members and those who are not, in order to strengthen them in their capacities to be able to conduct research. So today we'll be having this workshop, and I really will be delighted to introduce our speaker in a little while. But could I ask, as everyone is joining, please introduce yourself in the chat box and let us know your affiliation. So today, it's my pleasure to introduce to you. The way we would have it is the first hour would be for the workshop itself, and afterwards, those who are members would stay back for another 30 minutes for us to get some business done. So I'd like to go on to introducing our speaker today. Our speaker today is Dr. Stephen Adeniyi ADEFEGHA. He is an associate professor in the Department of Biochemistry at the Federal University of Technology, Akure in Nigeria. His research interest is in the critical role of food and food bioactive compounds for preventing diseases and promoting health. Dr. ADEFEGHA had his PhD in applied biochemistry from FUTA and did postdoctoral research training at the Federal University of Santa Maria in Brazil. He has later gone back to the same university as a visiting scholar. He is very appropriate for this topic today because of his extensive experience in research, having worked in laboratories at the University of Trieste in Italy, Technical University of Dresden in Germany, and in 2024, he was a George Foster Research Fellow in the Molecular Food Chemistry and Food Development Research Group at the Institute of Food Science and Human Nutrition at Leibniz University in Hanover, Germany, funded by the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. Dr. ADEFEGHA is a member of the Nigerian Young Academy. He has supervised students, undergraduate and postgraduate, published widely over 100 articles in referred journals. He serves as editor and he holds 2 patents to his research experience. So today, I would like us to welcome our guest speaker, Dr. ADEFEGHA, who will give us insight into how to get host laboratories abroad, and will also give us an opportunity to try our hands on some of the things that he will be sharing with us today. So with virtual clap, or those who can clap actually, welcome with me our guest speaker for today, Dr. Adeniyi ADEFEGHA. So Prof, over to you. I'll stop sharing and you can pull your slides up. Thank you.
Yes.
Excellent, Prof. We can see the slides.
Okay, and can you hear my voice too?
Yes, we can hear you. Please
All
go
right.
ahead.
All right. Good day, distinguished scholars and academics, ladies and gentlemen. I like to stand on the existing protocol I acknowledge and appreciate Dr. Yinka Shomori and his team for inviting me. I thank them most profoundly. Without further ado, I would go straight to the topic of the day: securing host lab abroad for research. I'm quite aware of the heterogeneity of my audience with regards to educational background and academic career stages. So I will try to um, I will be as brief as possible, and then I will be as precise, hitting the nail on the head. Okay, now I'm going to run through. Oh, sorry. All right. Yes. In the course of this webinar and workshop, I will be following this outline. I'll give a preamble, an introduction, then I'll talk about research fellowship, then I'll talk about how do you secure host labs for research. Then I'll conclude, and then I'll give some forms of acknowledgement. All right, so now I'm going to start by saying that attraction of fund is the core of all research activities globally. Ability to attract fund is very important, and that's the reason why you actually want to secure or secure a host lab abroad. If not for that, you could have stayed back in your home country and do your research. However, you believe that in that lab you are going to, you can attract fund for you to enjoy certain facilities over there. Now, that means that without fund, a lab is not functional. Now, having said that, the host you want to meet, that host also needs funds, needs to be funded for his research. And there is no Father Christmas anywhere in the world. That host is expecting you to bring in funds. And how do you get this fund? By research fellowship. By research fellowship. So that's the reason why I will talk about research fellowship before I go on to talk on how to secure host laboratory for research. Now, having said that, I'll go on to talk about what are you going there to do? What are you actually going to that lab to do? You are trying to work with other researchers and, of course, to produce tangibles. These tangibles can be products, can be publications, can be patents, they can be, things that you can actually say, this is my outcome from this research activity. And also to build bridges based on your skill and experience, and to also solve problems. So you want to build bridges. You want to merge your knowledge with the knowledge of your host in that lab, and then to see whether your academic career can move forward. And of course, the person who wants to host you is not interested in hosting liability. Is interested in hosting an asset. So you must make yourself available for this. Thirdly, is about mobility. It's an opportunity for you to move to another lab to see what is happening in that lab, to see research activities going on and not to also find out whether you are still working in the 19th or 18th century, and then to update yourself. So that talks about mobility, and these are the reasons why you need to secure this host lab. They need to secure a host and then the host lab. Thank you. Now, I move on to the next thing, talking about the research fellowship. What is a research fellowship? A research fellowship is a funded opportunity. It's an opportunity that is funded. It is this funded opportunity that will guarantee whether the host will accept you or not. If the funded opportunity is good enough, the host is motivated already to talk with you, to interact with you in the first place. And then, it's often done in another university or research institution. In this case, the research institution abroad. So this research fellowship organization, they make research fund available for you as a visitor and then for your host as well, so that you can do a robust research over there. And then this support goes to individual. It goes to individual. Okay, it goes to you personally. All right, this may be a little bit different from grant. For example, if you win a grant, number one, that grant, first of all, is for your institution. It's your institution that has won that grant through you. So, but in this research fellowship, it is personal. It's directly to you. In fact, your name is written on that letter, of course. So that grant goes to you. And of course, it applies to all categories. So we have fellowship, research fellowship for interns, for students pursuing their MSc degrees, for doctoral, for pre-doctoral and doctoral candidates, for earlier careers, for postdoctoral researchers and visiting scholars. All right, and we can see examples of these this fellowship sponsored by TWAS. You have CMPK, you have CSIR, CAS, to talk about a few. CAPES, Alexander von Humboldt or the George Foster Fellowship for doctoral and experienced scientists. You also talk about Newton International Fellowship. You talk about Maria Curie. You talk about DAD, you talk about Fulbright, you talk about Schlumberger, you talk about Erasmus Mundus, you talk about AFOX, Oxford Visiting Scholars. So these are examples of research fellowships all across the world that you can apply. Now, when you see applications, opportunities for our applications for all of these fellowships, you can actually apply. And when you want to apply, you may be required to secure a host. And that's the reason why I came up with that preamble. Now let's go straight to the business of the day. How do I secure hosts abroad for research? Now, there are things you need to do, and there are things your host will do. Now, in this case, what I need to do, what you need to do is very important, because what that host will do will depend mainly on what you need to do or what you are doing. Number one, you must build good research antecedents. It's important to build good research antecedents. And that goes a long way to talk about virtue of hard work. In the course of my mentorship and then in the course of relating with my students, I've at one time, quarreled with one or two of them about laziness, scientific laziness. The virtue of hard work is very important. quality research, doing quality research, writing research articles. In fact, the popular saying, the popular saying, or the popular word, publish or perish, is applicable in securing hosts. So quality research, good research article writing, then you must make sure you present yourself, you must recommend yourself, you know, you must recommend yourself by, having, by working very hard. Okay. Now, you must ensure that you are an asset and not liability. You must make sure that your host sees that this guy, this woman, this lady, this scholar, I need him. I must get him. That is what we must place our assets in that level of pedestal, that the host is even interested in you particularly. I recall of one of my collaborators in the UK. I saw an article that he wrote, and I wanted to apply for a fellowship at that time. And I didn't get his mail. So I contacted him through the research gate. So, and I just sent a message to him through the research gate. And the following day, the man replied, said, yes, he said he's interested in me, that he has been reading my articles, that he's interested, that whatever thing I want to do, I should get him, I should inform him. Now, afterwards, I remember I won a grant to host ISN in Akure in 2023, International Society of Neurochemistry. And I contacted him, said, Prof, I want you to be our facilitator for this program. And he said, no problems. I will be on my way to Nigeria. And he came around. Now, what I want to discuss is that I was just wondering, why is this man so enthusiastic about coming to Nigeria for this program? And when he came, we sat and we began to discuss. And he told me something profound. He said, see, I read one of your articles, and I said, I must meet this guy. I must meet this guy. So the virtue of hard work is very important in building good research antecedent. Secondly, our visibility. You must be visible in well-indexed platform. Google Scholar, Web of Science, and the likes. Now, the third thing is that you must create a niche, fascinating and interesting area of research. Stop doing boring research. Do research that will, in line with the SDGs. Do research in line with the SDGs. Research that is fascinating, that will increase your visibility, that will attract researchers to you. All right. Now, I'll talk about the second thing, which is key to our topic. Search for research institution and hosts. How do I search? I know that this is one of the major questions in our heart. How do I search for research institution and for hosts abroad? Number one, you need recommendation, and I think this is the easiest. Recommendation from previous awardee or visitor to that lab. Okay, by God's grace, I've been able to recommend a number of people to all my hosts, and I'm a beneficiary of that. In 2008, my PhD supervisor, who happens to be my academic father and my teacher from secondary school. In fact, we've known each other for more than 30 years. We work in the same department. Now, I can say categorically that I'm a good mentee, because my academic father was a recipient of the Humboldt Fellowship. And when he came back in 2008, and he told me about George Foster, I told myself, say, I must win this George Foster. So the first thing he did for me was to recommend me to a professor, Professor Thomas Ellen, in the Technical University of Dresden. And Professor Thomas Ellen said, is the boy motivated? Can the boy motivate himself? Because I don't have time for any student. And Professor Obot told my supervisor, who happens to be Professor Obot, told me, said, nee, this is what they said. This is what Professor Thomas Ellen said. I said, I'm motivated. I told him I'm motivated. And of course, in 2011, I did part of my PhD work in Professor Thomas Ellen's lab. Professor Thomas Ellen happens to be one of the most successful food chemists in the entire Germany. In fact, his name on any application can actually attract that fellowship to you if you are working in that area. So I called him, and so while I was in Germany in 2011, I was always going to the lab very early. If you know me very well, I'm an early riser. So always in the lab early. Most times we enter into the elevator almost the same time. So the first time, second time, the third time, he sent a message to Professor Obo. He said, your boy's research grant is small. I'm going to add additional 200 euros to his research grant because this guy is always coming early to the lab. So recommendation, you are recommended by a previous visitor and a previous awardee, and from there you are able to kick on. All right, now the next thing which it's from you now is to search. You must not be tired. You must be rugged. You can actually send message to 50 hosts and none of them will reply. In fact, if one of them replies, that's a success rate for you. So when you send messages to them, when you send messages to prospective hosts, you search the country of interest, you search institution, you search department, then the individual hosts. Also, your research area, your research interest should align with these hosts, these prospective hosts. Now, the research activity. Now, the public, you must be conversant. You must have read.
Prof, I think you're muted.
You must find out.
Okay. We can hear you back. I think the audio went off, but it's back now. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Okay, so can I come over the last 2 points I mentioned?
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right. Okay, I'm talking about recommendation from your visitor, someone who had visited that lab initially, and then a search for the country. You must search the country of interest, institution, department. Then you pin down. From there, you now pin down to the individual host. And pinning down to a particular host or a faculty member, it should be dependent on your area of research interest. It must depend on your research antecedent. You have been doing research in the field of that prospective host, and you are trying to tell that host that you would like to complement your research with what he has been doing in his lab. Okay? And you must also be able to tell that host that you have quality to also offer. All right. So in terms of, you must have read his publication. You must find out if he has patent. You must find out the conferences, workshops that he had attended, and possibly you have attended that same workshop or symposia. Okay. Then the one organized and the one you attended. Okay. Now, another very important thing is the eligibility of that prospective host. Is that prospective host eligible for the research fellowship you want to apply for? For example, your prospective host is is below the professorial cadre. Is not an associate professor, is not a full professor. That person may not be eligible to host you in most fellowships, in most research fellowship program. So that eligibility criteria are cut off that individual because that individual is not in the professorial cadre. However, you can continue discussion with that individual, and that individual can recommend you to an eligible host. Okay, now having said that, I'll go on to the third important point, how you can connect with this prospective host. How do I connect? By joining international society and organization. There's a need to network. See, when you want to network, you don't look at the amount you will spend in paying annual due. Now, I remember a particular year, I belong to an international organization, International Society of Neurochemistry. And there was a particular year I wanted to pay for my annual due. That annual due must be paid before the 31st of December. And on that year, you know how December could be. I was looking for, I have naira and I needed to change this naira to dollar. And I didn't have dollar at that time. On the 31st of December, because I was rushing, either 30th or 30th of December, I rushed down. I remember I called one of my students who had a dollar card. I got this money, I got him, and we were able to pay for that for that society that year. That same year, I won a big grant from that society. Now, there's a need to network. There's a need to join international society. Now, you know people from that international society or that organization. You know people and you can network. So when you need a prospective host, it will not be issue. It will not be an issue. It will not be an issue to you. Easily you can interact. You can send messages to them. So you can also, you may have also met some of them in conferences and workshops and in symposia, in seminars, where you have opportunity to also network. Then you can reach out to them by mail, via LinkedIn, via ResearchGate. You can link in with them. Now, you can also get some of their information from their articles. You can get names. You have read an article, you are fascinated by the article, and you can get the name, affiliation, and contact details of corresponding authors. In fact, most corresponding authors are research professors in that lab. So that's one of the ways to connect with this, or either you connect with them or you connect to prospective hosts. All right, can you hear me?
Yes, Prof, we can hear you.
All right, so
clearly.
The next point is to write a research proposal. Now, this is where most scholars, academic, and young researchers have issues in writing an award-winning proposal. Now, if a prospective host knows that this proposal cannot fly, the moment the prospective host, the moment he reads the proposal and he knows or she knows that the proposal cannot fly, the host may not reply you. Okay? Now, so what do we need to put in our proposal? Our proposal must be precise, must be novel, must be innovative, must be original. It should not be 90% plagiarized. It shouldn't be 50% plagiarized. It must be original. It must be written. We must ensure that we write it well. It's not ambitious. That proposal follows guidelines. good literature search, fantastic summary, excellent introduction, good justification. You have aims and your specific objectives are good enough. You have strong methodologies, and then you have your good conclusion and references. You have realistic budgets. Now, the title must be precise, must go straight to the point. You must have research plan. There must be research outcomes. There must be expected output in your research proposal. The research question must be the one that should be catchy, must be the one that would, would interest the award, the grant giver, okay, the grant, the donors, okay. All right, and then the significance and impact in the society must also be well stated. Now, the next phase is to write a mail. Writing a mail to a prospective prospective host. You want to send an email. You want to send a message to that host. There are a lot of messages going into the box, into the inbox of a number of researchers globally. So there are some, they will just delete it without even reading. So the subject matter must be very good. Request for a prospective host under research scheme. Now, in your email, you must express your interest in the work of the host. Now, most prospective hosts abroad, they don't like jack of all trade. They don't like researchers with jack of all trade mentality, doing research anyhow, everywhere. No, they want your research to align with theirs. So the moment you show that your research is in alignment with theirs, their interest, they have this great interest. Now, opportunity for collaboration. You must express that you would like to collaborate, that you have substance to give, that when you are there, you are not going to be a liability. So you must express it in a good sentence, that my coming into your lab, this is the skill I have, and this is the skill I'm going to share with your research team. Okay, so your skill, your qualification, your publications, your patent, it won't be out of place to also express that you have this number of publications in this field. Then you sent your CV. Now, the resume should be about 2 pages, because this is the first time you are meeting this host via email. So, see your CV, maybe about 2 pages. The summary of your proposal, maybe 1 page. Okay. Now, after all this, you send your mail to your prospective host. Now, having done this, you should expect a favorable response. You should expect a favorable response. However, if that prospective host is not communicating, is not responding, after a few weeks, a few months, you can resend that mail. However, you can also explore others. Just like I said earlier on, you can send messages to at least, just continue to send until you get a response. Continue to send until you get a response. So I'll conclude by saying that network through collaboration is desirable by all scientists around the world. All scientists around the world desire collaboration. They desire networking, but they don't want burdens. They want people that will help them lift certain burdens. They want people with assets. Therefore, we must make ourselves attractive. We must make ourselves attractive. We must ensure that we think big. We must have big thoughts. We must develop our mind for bigger thoughts. We must be hardworking. Do quality research. Write good research articles. If I see a doctoral student, a master degree student, I tell them, all you need to do quality research. Get on get on research writing. Write research article. Then you also need to be curious. Curiosity is very important. You need to be curious. Curiosity is very important. What is there in that lab? I want to know the kind of research that they are doing, and I want to be there. Okay. And also you need to be persistent. This is very important. You can get, in fact, some of them will reply. Some of your prospective hosts will reply and tell you that we don't want you. Don't be angry. Package your this thing again and send it to another person, another prospective host. Someone may not desire you, another person will definitely desire you. Okay. Now, we must remember that it takes the same time to work with things that are important and not important things. I want to acknowledge the following organization that have been recipients of research fellowship from, or grant or something from. I must acknowledge and appreciate them. And most profoundly, I also want to acknowledge my PhD supervisor, who has been my teacher from my secondary school days for over 30 years. We've been together, and is an academic father. He's a wonderful mentor. And I want to also encourage, leading researcher and scholar, distinguished professors online, to also encourage these young people. Let's encourage them. I can't forget the level of encouragement I got from my supervisor. And today we are both in the same department. We relate together, we work together. So so I also want to acknowledge Dr. Yinka Shomori for following up on me and for inviting me. I'm most grateful for this opportunity, and I thank you all for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause, please. That's really, really insightful. Thank you so very much for your thoughts that you shared with us and tips. Now, as you were going, I was writing for new insight, and also sharing on the chat, on the Zoom chat here, for people to be able to capture the essence of the things that you've shared. So I have two questions before we go ahead. So I have not seen any question in the chat. If you have a question, please put it in the chat. Or if you want to speak it out, that's fine. So two questions from me, Prof. One is, you've cited the importance of mentorship. I don't want to restate that, because we can only stand on the shoulder of giants. You've talked about Professor Obo, who has been a father and a mentor and opened doors for you. But I want to ask, for those who are just starting out, who might not have the opportunity of those kind of supervisors or mentors, because we'll only be naive to think that all supervisors are willing for their students to progress and be, in the places or in better places than they've been to. What advice would you give those people who don't have the privilege of enlightened and willing supervisors? So that's my first question. Should I ask the second one too?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. So the second one will be, could you share with us the practical steps you took to get your Alexander von Humboldt fellowship? Now, The reason I ask that is because there are people who are more advanced in their careers joining us today who might want to know exactly what are the practical steps that you took. How did you contact the host? What are the things you wrote to them? And how did the conversation grow to the point that they supported you to submit that application? All right. So from the earlier, my first question is about those who are much earlier. And the second question is for those who are a bit more advanced down the line. So thank you, Prof.
All right. Can I respond?
Yes, please go ahead. Thank you.
All right. So the first question, how do you manage an unwilling supervisor? Okay. Now, a supervisor that is not willing to mentor you appropriately, to show you the way. Now, one may not blame such supervisor. The supervisor may have actually come from that level of background as well. Not well mentored, not well supervised, and of course, in that case, he doesn't know. Now, the honor is on you to look out for who can I meet to mentor me in this area. Now, I will cite an example of a friend who also happens to be like a sister to me, a younger sister to me. We both lecture in FUTA, but in a different department. I remember while we were in Germany, we went for a particular program organized by Alexander von Humboldt. So she came and I was also there. So obviously she came, as we were exchanging pleasantry, she told me a story. She told me that one day she went to Unilag with her husband to University of Lagos. And on getting to University of Lagos, she said she actually wanted a mentor. And then she went to the Department of Linguistics or English, something like that, English, and met this professor. I can't remember the name of that professor now, but the professor is also a fellow of the AVH, and told me that that professor was around. So I was enthusiastic to meet that professor. Now, this lady had a PhD from UI, but she was able to locate a professor in Unilag. And that professor, she said she went to that professor's office. It was her husband that needed to do something in Unilag. She just went with her husband to Unilag, and then her husband went and left her in the car. And then she said she locked the car and went to meet this professor. Now, when she got to this professor, she told that professor that she was interested in winning on board. And the professor gave her some clue. The professor assured her that he was going to mentor her. And eventually, in fact, she won the on board before me. By God's grace, I was the person that was mentoring her, to academics. I remember encouraging her those years when she was offered a teaching assistantship job with little or no pay. I was the one encouraging her, please don't leave this job, don't embrace this work. You will get some. And then when we met in Berlin, I was personally excited and I was eager to meet the man. When I met this professor, I was glad, and the professor showed a lot of enthusiasm and gladness. And then he said on that day, I remember the day you met me in Unilag. I'm happy today. So this is what we should do. So if I'm with an unwilling supervisor, I should pause. I should deal with my unwilling supervisor very well, relate with him based on what we have in common. Okay. However, I must take a stand. I must look out for someone, a mentor that can make my life better. Thank you. Now, I want to speak on the second one, practical step I took for my prospective host. Now, in the course of my presentation, I said something that my supervisor introduced me to Professor Thomas Helen, and I was with Professor Thomas Helen in the year 2011 and 2012, and we had wonderful research activities together. However, at the time I wanted to apply for the OMBOT, I applied for OMBOT 3 times. I won it the 3rd time. Okay, so you can see that I'm someone who doesn't give up. The first time I applied, Professor Thomas Helen gladly gave me a letter of recommendation, and I applied. But the response I got from OMBOT at that time was that my research, because I applied immediately after my PhD. I defended my PhD in 2013, and in 2014 was the first year I applied, and I was not offered that fellowship in 2014. So what I did, the next thing I did was to apply again. So they told me not to apply in 2015. I shouldn't apply in 2016. I should apply in 2017. So I applied again in 2017. At this time around, I wrote a letter to Professor Thomas Helen. Now, we've known each other now, and he had even given me a letter earlier on. Of course, the fellowship was not granted. At the time I contacted him, he told me that he was old, that he was not getting any younger. And of course, I knew that. While I was there, he had some health challenges too. Okay, so I understood the fact that he was getting, but he assured me that if I contact any host, that he was going to support my application. So the next thing I did was I started searching online, university by university. So I started from Berlin, all the prospective hosts doing research in my area. I was able to get their lists and their emails, and I started sending them mails, asking them. So now I exhausted professors in Berlin. I went to Hamburg. Now, on getting to Technical University of Hamburg, I was able to contact a professor. And what I was using in my mail was my antecedent. I had worked with Professor Thomas Helen before, Institute of Food Chemistry, Technical University of Dresden, Germany. I'd done research, a 1-year research with him, and in the course of this research, these were the things we found out and things like that. So I got in touch with another professor, Professor Sacharon. Professor Sacharon was a professor of food chemistry. Immediately he saw my mail. I'm sure he replied me on that same day. He told me that if truly I've worked with Professor Thomas Helen, he was going to find out. He was going to find out from Professor Thomas Helen. And he said he was going to put a call across to Professor Helen right away. And then I was just waiting. So the following day, he contacted me. He told me that he had called Professor Thomas Helen, and he said Professor Thomas Helen was his external examiner when he was defending his PhD. And for the fact that I had worked with Professor Thomas Helen, automatically he was going to host me. So that was how I got that was how he hosted. That was how he gave me a letter. He checked my proposals and the likes. So of course, this second time I didn't get it again. I didn't win this OMBOT fellowship the second time. So that means that I've exhausted the George Foster Fellowship for postdoctoral fellowship. So the postdoctoral fellowship is that you should have completed your PhD within 5 years. So, and they told me that if I want to apply again, I can only apply in the year 2020. That I can't apply until year 2020. And they encouraged me to work harder. So, and I knew at that time, I was highly disappointed then, because I knew it could be very difficult to get that, to win that of the experienced scientist. So I knew I needed to work harder. I needed to work harder, other than what I was doing before. In between, by God's grace, I won some fellowship and I was able to also do research in other labs. But the promise I made to myself in the year 2008 was always ringing bell in my heart, that I must win George Foster Fellowship for for postdoctoral for postdoctoral research. Okay, now in year 2020, I contacted Professor Sacharon, and Professor Sacharon said his lab was busy at that time, that he was sorry, he was not going to, that he won't be able to accept me. So, and I told myself, said, this is another journey of searching for another host. So I began again to search for hosts, university by university. Okay, there was in 2011, while I was in Germany, there was a guy who was in that lab. He was in that lab. He defended his PhD while I was there. This young researcher had become a professor at the Technical University of Brandenburg. So, Technical University of Brunswick. Wow. Technical University of Brunswick. I contacted him and I introduced myself. Hey, Stephen, the guy that so during that time, I prepared a Nigerian meal for them. And particularly, I remember that day, he ate eba with beans. So he ate eba with beans on that day. So I was eager to also hear from him. He didn't reply this message. I tried to reconnect to him. He didn't reply the message. So I continued my search again, and I was able to get another host from Leibniz University, Hanover. Okay, so in that university, I've searched, I've looked at people working in my own research area, and I was able to locate this professor, and I was able to link up with her. I sent, emails to her, following the guidelines I provided in my slides. So these were practical things. These were things I did. Okay. So, and I made it as practical as possible. So if you go through my slide, all those steps, I wrote a subject letter. I attached one-page proposal, two line CV and the likes. And the host contacted me that he has checked my profile and he will be willing to host me. But before we can start talking, that I should send her the full proposal. And then I did. And she looked at the proposal, she edited, she made some comments on the proposal, and I effected the corrections. I effected all I needed to do. And of course, he gave me the letter that he was going to host me. And if you are familiar with the onboard platform, the onboard application platform, the host will need to also load that letter. Now, the host told me something, because she at that time, I think she was just promoted to the W1 professor. In Germany, they have category of professors. So they just promoted her to W1 professor at that time. So she told me that it would be good we bring in another senior professor from the Department of Botany. And of course, I said, no problems. All I needed was, I need a host. Okay. And if you say you want to bring in another person, okay, I'm fine with it. So, and she brought in this second professor. And of course, we interacted via mails. So they were sending me messages. I was replying. They will ask me questions. I will respond to the questions. And At the time they needed to load their letter online, I told them, and they both loaded their letter. They loaded their letters online, and that was so. And by God's grace, I was in December 2021, I guess, I was awarded the fellowship. So that was what happened. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Prof. I'm aware that we have just a little bit of time left. So I will ask you one of the few questions here, but okay, two things first. One
Okay.
is that would you be able to share your slide with us so that we can share it with participants?
Absolutely, I'll do that.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And also, your email is in the because somebody asked about your email. It's in the slide. So when we send you the
Yes.
slides, you will see his email address if you want to contact him. So somebody said here that so all the opportunity for fellowship and hosts are available abroad. What are the gaps in Nigerian institutions preventing us from doing similar things? And how can these gaps be filled so that Nigerians and foreigners can be attracted to hosts in Nigerian institutions? It's a long-term question that I'm sure you won't be able to fully answer, but could you just in 30 seconds, sir, give us what we should be doing right to attract people to Nigerian institutions?
Okay, I must commend TED Fund. TED Fund is doing great job, and that's the reason why we must resist every effort of the federal government to abolish TED Fund. I'm not saying that there's no corruption there, but they are doing a great job. There are few fundings coming into the university through IBR or NRF. Okay, and the reason why um, the reason why we cannot attract visitors, they are obvious. Security reasons, and some of our labs are like some of our labs are inequipped, so they are not equipped. So we must equip our labs. Our labs need equipment. Also need we need people who, some of our colleagues who have traveled, abroad, to also come back and train us. We must encourage people to come back, but security reasons and the limitation in funding opportunities. So limitation in funding. Okay, so it's these are part of the reasons why this cannot people cannot we can't have visitors coming in. Okay.
All right, thanks very much, Prof. One last question, and we will be getting to wrapping up. So the question is that somebody asked that how for all of the things that you've suggested, the answer might look obvious, but I would like you to just address it. So how do these strategies you have presented today apply to those seeking postdoc research fellowships in biomedical sciences? I would say in any field that, as a matter of fact, as long as you need to do research, that is postdoctoral research fellowship. So how do these strategies apply? Are there any differences, or could they be applied in the exact same way as you have described to us today, sir?
Yes, this is applicable to all forms of research. Is applicable to all forms of research. Applicable to all forms of research. As intern, as student seeking master's degree program, doctoral, postdoctoral, visiting scholar. This model, if this model is followed, you are sure of actually getting a host lab anywhere in the world by God's grace. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you so very much. I want to just give one or two main points, and then I'll hand it over to our co-chair, Dr. Michael Akure, to give us the closing remarks and thank our speaker. So from all that has been said today, I would want to suggest that we should not ignore or neglect the opportunity of starting local. There are people who have labs that are still better equipped than others.
Absolutely.
Reach out to them and start, especially for those who have not had the track record that Prof mentioned. Because if you want to contact a host, you want to tell them the things that you've been able to do. And if you have not been able to start small and within your local environment, it might be that you need to go to Maiduguri or other parts of the country. Let me not, no, maybe not Maiduguri, but any other part of the country, right? But seek opportunities that are local as well as looking abroad. And also the fact that these things are not for the faint-hearted. You heard Prof saying over and over again how he tried and tried and tried before he got the George Foster Fellowship. So it's important that you can do everything right and still the people don't respond. Don't take it personal. Just keep trying. That's the terrain that we are in as researchers. Try and keep trying. And I'm sure you also have a good news, like Prof told us, that eventually got the AVH. Okay, so at this point, I'll pass it on to the co-chair of the Nigerian Applied Microbiologists Network, Dr. Michael Akure, to give us the closing remarks and thank Prof for us. Please, at the end of the closing remark, NAM members, please wait behind and let's have a very quick conversation. Thank you very much. Dr. Mike, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Yinka. May I use this opportunity to thank our speaker, Dr. Stephen Adeniyi ADEFEGHA. He has opened our eyes to so many things that have been our challenges in the past, and he has also opened a new line of network that we can use, leverage on to go up and get all the things we need for our fellowship. I thank you so much. I want to thank Dr. Yinka Sumari for organizing this and being able to contact our speaker today, that we have had a wonderfully inciting information. And to all our attendees today, both NAM members and non-NAM members, I use this opportunity to thank you so much. We have sessions like this from time to time, and you are also welcome to join NAM if you wish, because of things like this. So I thank you very much for attending, and every other person that is here today, I thank you so much. Just like Dr. Sumarin said, when we wind up, the 9 members will wait behind for a brief meeting. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mike. I will stop the recording now. Thank you so much again, Dr. Adefegha, for coming and sharing your thoughts with us. I will be sharing the slides and the link to the recording later in the new week for those who have registered, and we've gotten the liberty from the speaker. So thank you so very much for that. So thank you. If you're not a NAM member, we hope to see you again. You can kindly exit, and then for NAM members, just please hold on while we have this quick conversation. Thank you.